Welcome to the Women's Hoop Show. We've got a packed episode for you today with a little bit of everything. Record-breaking win streaks, MVP debates, playoff clinchers, and some spicy drama that's brewing in the Windy City. We'll get into it all. After that, we're breaking down some contenders. Who are our top 5 contenders going for the title? Who's got what it takes? Who's got the it factor to go all the way, but also what are their strengths and their weaknesses? We'll dive into all that. And of course, we'll wrap things up with sending flowers, brought to you by Cash App, where we show some love to players and moments that deserve their flowers right now. So buckle up because it's going to be a fun one. Kendra, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so excited to go into all of the topics that we have today. But first, have you heard, Kendra, that we have merch? We have merch.
I heard a rumor about this. Ooh!
A rumor. It's going around.
You have my address, right? Because I think
yes. We'll send you some.
I need some.
We will send you some. Just a little PSA. We've been saying it for the past couple episodes, but make sure to get your merch. It's only here for a limited time until September 16th. So put your orders in. It's so cute. We have t-shirts. We have hoodies. We have hats. We have water bottles. We have a little bit of everything. Get it for you. Get it for your bestie. Get it for whoever needs it. Because if you're listening to this, you need to rock the merch. Go to shopwomenshoops.com right now to put in your order. And that's my PSA. So send us your sizes, Kendra. We'll send you all the good things. We have some things.
I'm feeling a hat. I'm a big baseball cap girl, so
yes, we got some for you. It's all there. It's all there in the shop. Okay, now to the basketball. Kendra, we sat here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, we did,
and we said, "What's going on in Chicago?" We just had that question. We just pondered it.
Yeah.
And a lot's going on in Chicago so far.
Yeah. It's funny because I think when we had that discussion, it was under the topic umbrella of what are we not talking about enough? And for the last several days, I think it is all people have been talking about is what is going on in Chicago. And I still don't have an answer for you, but it's a whole lot of mess is what I would summarize it to be.
Messiness. Just a 30-second recap of what's going on. Because if you have been living under a rock over these past few days, and I don't even know what to tell you. I just go look on social media because we're all talking about it. But essentially, Angel Reese had some quotes in a recent Chicago Tribune article about how the front office of Chicago needs to get better free agents next offseason. And she talked about how what the organization needs to do to kind of make themselves a contender and a sought after free agency marketplace. She specifically called out, Courtney Vandersloot, saying she is a really good point guard, but she is going to be 37, coming off an ACL injury. We can't kind of rely on her to be the point guard. We need someone younger. We need better shooters in the backcourt. She kind of sounded off on all of these things that you can tell was just frustration built up from this season of only having 9 wins or 10 wins. Mm-hmm. So then there were some couple things that happened after that. So she was suspended for a half for comments detrimental to the team that came from the front office. There was another story with reactions from her teammates, specifically Rachel Bannum and Ariel Atkins, and Elizabeth Williams was quoted in that story as well. There was another story from Front Office Sports that talked about kind of inside of front offices. Here's what's kind of going around, what people are saying. And so it was a story that had ripple effects of multiple stories. What was kind of your reaction as all of this was unfolding real time and we were all just kind of reacting to all the reactions, I guess?
Yeah, I think I had multiple, and it kind of came, as you said, like as the news cycle of this continued. Frankly, my first thought was, what an interview by Julia Poe, who's the reporter of the Chicago Tribune. Angel is an extremely guarded person and isn't one who gives interviews. So I don't know the context of this interview, but I mean, what great reporting, first of all, I think.
Yes.
So hats off. That's the journalist in me and the reporter in me saying hats off to the reporter. And look, I think this is the thing. We're just not used to athletes, regardless of its Angel, regardless of its anyone in the W or any other sport. Maybe a little bit. I feel like maybe the NFL has some kind of this where players are just so blatant and just raw about what their frustrations are and what needs to change. I just don't think that we're really used to hearing athletes speak so candidly like that. So it kind of took things aback because, especially when you're naming names, I think sometimes athletes will say, listen, like we need a little bit more youthful spirit. Like I covered the Warriors for a really long time, and it was always like, how do we bring more young players in? Because our veterans are coming towards the end of their careers. That's not saying, and so you're not naming names, but you're just saying, hey, maybe we need some more youth. But she named names, and so I think that was a little bit jarring for readers, probably for her teammates, for spectators. Another important detail that Julia Poe then put on Blue Sky, I believe, was that there was a team representative in the room during this interview, which I think is really important to know, that this wasn't a gotcha moment. This wasn't a behind closed doors takedown of the Chicago Sky, or we're acting icky behind people's backs. It's not like a gotcha moment. They were aware that this interview happened. From what Julia said on Blue Sky, there was no attempt to alter the story, alter the quotes, alter the publication of this story. So I thought that was an interesting point. And then the third reaction that I had was more so of the suspension. If you're going to suspend a player, say it with your chest and suspend them the whole game. I did not like the half game suspension. And then Angel didn't even end up playing the second half because of back issues, supposedly. But like,
he wasn't gonna play.
But
I knew it.
Let's just but let's say it. If you're gonna hold your player accountable, hold them accountable. Say it with your chest, stand 10 toes down, and suspend her for a whole game if it's that detrimental to the team. And then I think, again, like you said, I'm just going on and on now. But then, yes, the teammates' reactions, I think, like, listen, it makes for an uncomfortable situation. So I don't know. Those were, what were your reactions?
I think those are all of my exact reactions, all of those things. I want to pinpoint and talk to you about the team PR representative being at the interview, because this is something that I think a lot of fans don't understand, but in our world, that is normal. That is something that happens. And, a lot of those reactions when Julia said that was, well, did the PR representative get a slap on the wrist, or did they get kind of some repercussions because they didn't step in? But can you just shine some light on, one, how normal that is, and two, what does that look like if they were to step in and say, okay, can you take that off the record, or actually don't include that? Like, what does that process look like?
It's really dependent, I think, on the reporter, on the publication, and on the PR person. Everyone operates differently, and so I think it's really it's a scenario by scenario thing. And look, like, we don't know what happened in that room, if there was a conversation. We don't know if the PR representative said after that, hey, can you not? And listen, like, if it's on the record, the reporter has every right to report it. So even if the PR person said, hey, can you not put that in your article? If Angel knew it was on the record, it is fair game. It is fair game. How you navigate your relationship with that player, with that team, with that PR person, it is 100%, I think, decided in that moment. It's your own navigational system. And like you said, it is normal for PR reps to be in the room, monitor. I think each one, again, has a different boundary point for where they want to step in versus where they don't. How closely they're listening into the conversation, if they're even in the conversation at all of these things are so fluid and dependent from party to party, organization to organization. So I don't think that readers or fans or whoever should say, well, that front office person, the PR person, should get a slap on the wrist and be punished too, because we don't know what the interaction was. But also it's their job to run some interference, but also if it's on the record, it's on the record. And there's only so much you can do in that moment. So I don't think it's really fair for the PR person to be blamed in this. If Julia Poe asked a valid question on the record and Angel clearly had some stuff to get off her chest.
Yes.
Boom. To me, that's fair game. And it's dependent on the reporter. It's dependent on the conversations that you're having with the team to decide what you feel comfortable about.
Mm-hmm. And it would have been like you said, it's on the record. So it would have been a suggestion anyway. She wouldn't have had to take any of these quotes out. Angel said them.
You don't owe it. Yeah. You don't owe it to the team to do that.
No, it was an incredible story and reporting. And it also just shows that relationship that Angel and Julia have. And one thing that was kind of an afterthought of all of this was unfolding, and I wonder if you had this thought too, of wow, this was such great candor, this was such a great interview, it has had crazy amount of blowback, we are never going to get a player to be this honest again. And that was my thought, that this type of honesty and this real conversation where I don't feel like anything she said was a lie. I think she was just very honest, and it took people aback.
Yes.
We're not going to get that again. Players aren't going to, they're going to say, oh, remember what happened to Angel? Let me keep my mouth shut. And I'm just going to give you routine comments and quotes. And I'm going to come on your podcast, or I'm going to do your interview. And I'm not going to answer your questions truthfully and honestly, because why would I? Look what happened to Angel. She got suspended. So I felt very sad about that because it was a great reported piece. So I didn't know if you felt the same.
Yeah, I did. And I think it's so hard to navigate, for athletes, I'm sure, and for reporters. It's just so hard to navigate how to get the most honest truth, but with and I think there's never any ill intention when reporting out a story like this for the athlete. You're doing your job. But I did have that thought of oh man, I don't think players are gonna necessarily be super forthcoming. And also I thought more specifically, again, I think Angel is such a guarded person, and I love hearing her speak because she has so many incredible thoughts and viewpoints of the game, whether it's, and not even necessarily in this situation, just about the game of basketball and stuff. And it's so hard to get her to speak so candidly in other interviews. And so I was disappointed that it had this much blowback for her, because she already deals with so much blowback every time she speaks, that it's she in particular, I'm sad that is probably going to continue to go further back into her shell, because I feel like she just has so much to say. And this was a boiling point, but before reaching a boiling point, I feel like she has so many thoughts, and would be such an interesting woman to have a basketball conversation with, a personal conversation with, all those things. So it's really disappointing that it was handled in the organization like that, and that B, it was perceived by some fans. I will say there were a lot of people I saw on social like having her back as well.
Yes.
Especially when the suspension came down. But I think regardless, like I agree with you that it is kind of just like, okay, it's not gonna end here with this situation. I think it'll continue on.
Exactly. That was going to be my final point. Where do we go from here? Like, this is something that cannot just be lingering in the air as the end of the season is near. That a huge historic offseason is around the corner. Like, they're seeing Angel on the bench during this suspension, during the game against the Aces, where I wanted to tune in because I knew she wasn't going to play the second half. I was wondering what was going to be said. Back issues were cited. But it's like she's checked out. Everybody else is checked out. Like you see quotes from Rachel Bannum saying, "I'm so over this. Like I'm everything that's involved. The front office is under a microscope. All the players are unhappy. Angel Reese has said her piece. So it is just a dumpster fire. And where do you go from here? Because you are still an organization. You still got to come back next season."
And Angel has a 1-1 on her rookie contract left. It's not, I see people coming up with trade hypotheticals and stuff. Yeah, there could be a trade hypothetical, but she's not a free agent. She can't leave on her own fruition. It has to be a trade. Do they want to do that? You know what I mean? So I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know where you go from here. Do people... And also, do free agents want to go to Chicago? If you're talking about all these pieces that you need to put around Angel, who's supposed to be your nucleus, you see how this is playing out. Jordan, do you remember the Athletics anonymous player poll and who they voted was the worst run organization? Hint, hint. We're talking about this team right now. You have to think about how attractive of a destination are you? And
it ain't looking good.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
It ain't looking good. And everything that happened over this past weekend was a reminder of all of the star players that Chicago has once had. And that is something that I don't think we talk about enough. Yes, this season is bad, but you think Chicago had Sylvia Fowles. They had Elena Deladon. They had a Candace Parker. They had a Kalia Copper, Courtney Williams, Emma Mieseman. If I told you an organization had all of those players and they have one championship where they went 500 and won it with Candace Parker, I would not believe you. I would say, of course you had a championship with Sylvia Fowles and Elena Deladon. Right. No, you didn't.
Not? How do you not? It's crazy.
So that's the part that I think is hovering over this, is that this is a poorly run organization, and where do you go from here? Look, the Sky are sitting at 10-32 right now. They are not in the playoffs. That this is something that we are going to keep an eye on as we go through the rest of the season, and especially in the off season. Godspeed. Chicago Sky fans, y'all are going through it, and I'm so sorry.
I hope you can find solace in another one of your sports franchises, but from what I hear, I don't know if that's going to happen with some either. I don't know.
Okay, we're going to take a break because anytime I think about this story, I get stressed out and I start to get angry. So we're going to take a break. We'll be back and we're talking Contenders. Welcome back to the Women's Hoop Show. And Kendra, it is the final week of the regular season. We made it. Yeah. We made it. We did it, Joe.
We did it. So, Joe, I feel like this has been the longest final stretch of this season I've ever experienced. It feels like it's been happening for a month, and it's been like, it's the final stretch. That was 6 weeks ago, and we're still in the final stretch. What is happening? Like, my God, I'm so ready for the playoffs.
Post All-Star has felt like 6 months long. Like, that was everything was after All-Star, playoff push, and it has been I
Been
think
less
it's
than a
because
month.
it's been really exciting. Like, it's
I think so
been
too.
close, and the standings have been so fluid, and I think that's what it's like, you have to tune in every single day to know where your favorite team is, so that's probably a part of it, but we're finally
Yeah.
here. We're finally here.
Yes.
Playoffs kick off on Sunday, September 14th for the first round. We have almost all our teams clinched, even though we're going into the final week. Since our last episode, both the Golden State Valkyries and the Indiana Fever have clinched their spot in the playoffs. The Valkyries, first expansion
Yes.
team to clinch that playoff spot in their first year. Quick thoughts on that, because what a scene
I mean,
that
incredible.
was.
I was in the building and I've never, and I tweeted this, I've said it to, I probably said it to you before, just of like how insane the energy was. But like, I have covered NBA finals games in that building and I don't know, like this energy, the noise that was in Chase Center the night that they clinched against the Fever, I think it was top noise I've ever heard in that building. It's so exciting. I think it's really disappointing that they won't get to play at least round one in Chase Center. But I will just say for the listeners, you have to understand that the Laver Cup, which is a tennis cup that's happening at Chase Center, this contract was signed before there was even a W team in the Bay Area. So I just need to put that out there because people are saying how could the organization do this? They had no faith, all this stuff. Did they outperform expectations? Yes, but this contract with these dates was signed 2-3 years ago. It's really disappointing that they also aren't getting to play in Oracle because there's another event happening at Oracle, which is, Oakland Arena, formerly known as Oracle, where the Warriors, started their dynasty in Oakland. So they'll be playing in the SAP Center in San Jose. It's disappointing, but still an incredible accomplishment. So that can be celebrated for sure.
Thank you for clearing that up, because it was a lot of talk about not having faith in this team. And
Yes.
I think, as we've talked about over and over, everybody internally had faith that they were going to have this great season. So unfortunate, especially because of just how the fan and crowd has been, and in a playoff atmosphere that would have been, but I guess
Insane.
just motivation to get to the second round for the Valkyries so that they
Yes.
could potentially play at Chase Center. Could be fun.
Exactly.
The Indiana Fever were the other team that were able to clinch with the win over the Mystics. They're currently sitting in 7th place, but this 8th spot is technically, as we are recording this on Monday morning, still up for grabs. And here's what I broke down on my note card.
Please do it. Please tell me, because I don't know. I need you to explain this to me.
So I've started with the question of like, can the Sparks still get in? Because they still have 2 games remaining. Seattle Storm are sitting at 22 and 21, and the Sparks are sitting at 20 and 22.
Okay.
The Sparks own the tiebreak over the Storm. That's kind of why it's still in flux. But here's what needs to happen. The Storm have 1 game left. The Sparks have 2 games left. The Sparks would have to win both of their remaining games, which is against Phoenix and the Aces.
Oh,
double
dagger to the heart. Okay.
They won against Dallas this past weekend, which kept them alive, but they have to win those 2 games. And they would need Seattle to lose against Golden State, which would be their last game. Because if that would mean that they would each have 22 wins and the Sparks would win the tiebreak and get in that 8th spot over the Storm. From my calculations, if Seattle wins over Golden State, then they're in. They should be, because they would be at 23 wins and the Sparks can't get to 23 wins. So Do the Sparks wish they were playing anyone else besides
Yes.
Phoenix and the Aces?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding?
Absolutely.
And this is no disrespect to the Mercury because they're a great team. Anyone but the Aces. It's the fact that they have to win both games. If you told me that they had to go 1-1, maybe, but you're playing the hottest team. The Aces are riding a 14-game win streak at the time of recording. I'm like, I mean, they could not have asked for a worse 2-game slate to close their regular season. My God.
The worst. And it's such a quick turnaround. Like, say there is some miracle. Say the basketball gods are just shining down on Los Angeles. And they say, Becky just sits their whole starting 5. They're just gonna rest them. And there's situations that could happen. But then there's just this quick turnaround of having to immediately go back and play potentially
Minnesota.
Yeah, you get it Minnesota in 2 days. And so it's just like this jolt of we made it to we have to play Minnesota.
That's so tough. I mean, look, I also think with the Sparks, like can we talk, they've in my humble opinion, underwhelmed tremendously this year. Like when I think back to when they signed Kelsey Plum and then, they get Cam back and, De'Arica Hamby's been great. Rakia Jackson's been great. They struggled so much last year that I think it was just hopes to take steps forward, but I still think there were more expectations than for them fighting for 8th by the absolute skin of their teeth. I mean, am I off here by that? Like, I don't know.
No, I think that I wouldn't in my perspective, I wouldn't have expected it to be Seattle and LA fighting for this 8th spot. So to me, when you put it against Seattle, the Sparks are looking great. Like the fact that the Sparks are even in the playoff contention, but the fact that Seattle is almost not is more of the story than the Sparks. I think I can't wait till next year to see a full season with Cameron Brink. That is something that I think would, if they had her earlier, how many of those wins would have went a different way when everyone was healthy? Because a lot of people weren't healthy at the beginning of the year. So they picked up steam too late. I think that's how I would describe this season. But for them to be in the mix and they're like at the top tier of the bottom tier teams, I guess, that's something that should be maybe applauded, but it's been too many years of this. I think that's where I'm at with the Sparks. We have to move
that's it.
Very big, a lot of steps forward next season. When we talked about that anonymous players poll about organizations, the Sparks were also towards the bottom of poorly ran organizations. So how are you going to kind of get rid of that bad taste that's in free agents' mouths, or something that you're going to need to make a leap going into next season, because you've been hovering at this spot or lower for like the past 5 years. Like it hasn't been great. So I feel you on that. We need more. We need more from the Sparks. We need more.
Yeah.
Okay, contenders. So those are the bottom. Those are the people fighting for the bottom. The teams at the top. Let me just ask you this. How many, if you're honest, if you're real, how many contenders are there that will like have a real shot at winning the championship?
I struggle with this question. I think I don't want anyone getting mad at me. I think there are 2 real.
Okay. Yes.
Like it's like that's a small number. I think, and look at, okay, I'm gonna backtrack before I say my 2. I think the top 5 seeds right now are all contenders. I think they're all very good, and that is the Lynx, Aces, Dream, Mercury, and Liberty. That's those who occupy, and I think those are very legitimate. I think those are the top 5 best teams in the league. So makes sense that they're in the top 5. Then when I start getting into nitty gritties and stuff, okay, maybe maybe I'll change my answer to 3. I think the Lynx are a legit contender. The Aces, since the All-Star break, have catapulted into legit contenders. And then when I look at the other 3 teams, I kind of struggle, honestly. And I think the Mercury have so many great pieces. And this might be my hot take that I don't think the Liberty are true contenders this year. And I think that's the one, because their season has been a disappointment. I know that they have been battling injuries, and I don't discredit that at all. Stewie missed 13 games. John Quill Jones has been in and out of the lineup. I mean, everyone's missed time for them. Sabrina's been in and out of the lineup. I don't know if this team, I think it's very rare for a team to skid through a regular season and then magically have everything click in the playoffs. I've seen it once. I saw it with the 2022 Golden State Warriors. I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
And
it's tough to do.
It's tough to do. And like, maybe the Liberty can do it, but the way that this season closed, I know that they still have a couple games left. Like, I don't know if it will happen. I'm like so scared that I just put that out into the ether.
No,
I'm gonna be so real.
Correct. You're correct. Let's start with the Liberty in this conversation, because my producer, Greg, he texted me when we were thinking of conversation or topics for this episode. And he said, I said, yeah, I think there's like 5 contenders. I think there are 5 contenders for the championship. And he texts back, he's like, do you really think there's 5? And I said, well, the Liberty are in 5th place. Can you not count the Liberty? And as you're talking and as we are watching what's unfolding, it feels like it's just getting further and further from reality of them being a true, like, a possibility of them hoisting the trophy again, going back to back. That is something that they have a lot of positives. They have a lot of great players on this team. But how fitting was that they clinched the playoffs on a loss? I think that
and
was
again, I was there at that game. I was in the post game with Sandy and Stewie, and it's just like, their season has gone the complete opposite trajectory that you'd want in a title defense, where you start. What was their win streak at the start of the season? Like, it was,
I think
it was pushing double. I was gonna say it was pushing double digits. Like, it was a long win streak, and they haven't even had glimpses of that since the start of the season. And again, I keep like injuries. It's valid. I know people say it's not an excuse, and it's not an excuse, but it is a valid, like, wrinkle and detail. I don't know. And it's just like, especially when you look into, okay, it's a best of 3, best of 5, and then it's best of 7. It's the best of 7 is,
you would have to be playing. We're expecting the New York Liberty to, if they somehow get to that point, to the finals, would be playing their best basketball that we haven't seen since May, right at that moment. Like, that's what we're expecting. And it just feels like that is a really tall order. And to your point of what you said after they clinched the playoffs, and in your article, the vibes weren't, yay, we're going to the playoffs. The vibes were, we're not playing well. Like, we lost. I don't even want to celebrate this thing. Like, we shouldn't even be in this position. Like, those were the quotes. And it's not this rah, rah, we can do this. We can break, we know who we are. We're really great. That's
Yeah.
a different energy that I think they're
Yeah.
just trying to hold on to. Let's not get embarrassed. Like that's a
Yeah.
different
So
vibe.
it's such a different vibe. And I will say, like, to your point, like, I never, like, don't count them out. Like, I guess like, yeah, they are a contender. But again, when I look at the top 5 teams in the league right now, to me, all of the other teams have the momentum that you would want heading into the playoffs, where the Liberty don't. Like,
Mm-hmm.
again, the Lynx, they're doing Lynx things. The Mercury, and I don't want to skip ahead in what our conversation is going to be. So I'll just save my other talking points and say I just think that all of the other 4 teams in the top 5 have the momentum that you'd want to have going into the playoffs, and the Liberty of the top 5 have the least amount of momentum.
Yes. Yes. And this going into playoffs when there is no break and it
Yeah.
is a very quick turnaround. You need the momentum. You need to
Yeah.
ride that wave. And we have seen
Yeah.
that year after year. We talked about Chicago when they won that championship. It was momentum. It was belief and hope that they came in as the last seed, but they were winning towards that end of the season and they were able to make it all the way through despite being a 500 team. That
Yeah.
that has happened because it is such a quick turnaround and a playoff
Yeah.
rounds. The positive I will say about the Liberty is that they come in to the playoffs going up against, if the standings stay how they are right now, would play Phoenix. They
Mhm.
are the best at guarding the 3-point line. And that is
Yes.
something that I think could work to their benefit. And if everybody's there and healthy and up for the challenge, that could be a good thing for this type of matchup heading into that. So I think
Yeah.
the basketball wise, I trust Sandy Brondello's pin. I think
Mhm.
that's not the issue the whole time. So if all those things click, then they sure they could make
Yeah.
some noise. It could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't count out the defending champs with the amount of star power they have,
Yeah.
but and as my mother always likes to say, don't say but, say and it hasn't shown up. Like, it's there on paper, it's not there in reality, but you make an excellent point that of all the matchups, I think that is one that New York could handle really well. And who knows if they can steal game 1 in Phoenix, if the standings stay how they are, does,
Mhm.
like, maybe that gives them the boost and the momentum and the excitement that they need then heading back to New York in game 2, because again, that first series, best of 3.
Yes.
That is more obtainable than
Mhm.
best of 5, best of 7. So it's 100% possible.
Mhm. Let's talk about that Phoenix team because they
Yeah.
have someone named Alyssa Thomas who's listening to this and she's like that ain't gonna happen. So just let me
Yeah.
stop it right there.
Yeah.
But when we talk about contenders and when we talk about the pros and the cons, or the pros and their Achilles heel of each of
Yeah.
these teams, when I look at Phoenix, my hesitation when I think about the playoffs is that do the rookies that have had incredible games all season and a 20-point here and a 15, 3-pointers franchise record here, are the lights going to be too bright
Right. Yep.
when it gets to the postseason? Because a
That's
lot of these players have not been in this situation before. You have
yep.
players who have championship experience or have been to the finals, and Alyssa Thomas and Kalia Copper and Satu, who's been in the playoffs before. But everybody else
Mhm.
on the road in New York, are you going to be, if it gets down to the
Yeah.
wire, that is
Yeah.
my hesitation, where I think it's been a positive all season of like, look what these rookies have done. But now you're going
Yeah.
to have to prove to me that you can make it through.
Do it. It's so funny because I had the exact same thing jotted down. And it's
Yeah.
funny because my pro and my Achilles heel for them are two sides of the same coin because their depth is one of their strongest like attributes. Once you get past the fact that they have AT, Kalia Copper, and Satu Sabali, their depth has been so incredible this season. But like you just said, their depth is made up of rookies and
Mm-hmm.
non-traditional rookies that aren't just coming off of the NCAA, championship stage. They were either playing overseas or they've,
Yeah.
So is that a pro? Is that not a con? Is that an issue point? I don't know, but it is a question that exactly the same question that I had for this Phoenix team.
Yeah. The pro for me is that, Kalia Copper is someone I kind of pointed to even at the beginning of the season. It's kind of opposite, right? When we talk about the Liberty. At the beginning, I was like, dang, is this going to not
Yeah.
turn out to be as fun of even though this free agency signings were super interesting, but everybody's injured. So we're not really getting to see big three roll out together. And they all got healthy and clicked at the right time to really turn this season around. And Kalia Copper specifically was someone who I was looking to like get back to bucket getter Ka.
Yes.
And I think that's who she is right now. And that is the perfect version of her that you want going into the playoffs. So that is a huge positive for me heading into the playoffs for them.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, AT has been like as steady as she's ever been all season long. But you're so right. Like finally having Ka healthy and seeing that tandem work together and then seeing what Satu can do as well. They have they can be so lethal. They can be so lethal. And I agree. Like Ka last year proving to be like a 20, 25 point scorer. And just like the words you said were bucket getter when they need her to be. You pair that with a facilitator like AT, something that I recently did an interview with Ka and like I did a story on the Mercury, and Kalia was telling me about her recruitment effort of getting the AT and Satu pieces. And she said, again, everything comes back to the Chicago Sky. Ever since playing with Candace Parker in Chicago, she's been looking for that point forward that Candace was for her. And she was like, I need Alyssa Thomas. And so that relationship, that on-court chemistry, I think could be so lethal and good for this team.
I loved your reporting in that story. And what I got from that was Ka has a future as a general manager because she was having breakfast with Satu. She was working. I hope they threw her like a finder's fee or something like that for what she did.
She was putting in the
them.
extra work. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Hey, and it's paying off. And they are in the playoffs, a team that I don't know if I would have had them having this success so soon at the beginning of the season. So I'm looking forward to Phoenix. And I do think that they could be one of those teams that catches fire. I think a person we didn't even talk about is DeWanna Bonner. You have somebody who could come in and say, I have been here. I am older than all of you. I know what this takes. I know what to do and like lay out the blueprint for them. That could go a really long way. So I do think that they could be one of those teams with a great home court advantage to come in and set fire to the playoffs. So I think to me, I would still put Phoenix as one of those contenders. That's why they're in there. That's why they're in conversation. Last one before we go to break, and then we'll get to the top two. The Atlanta Dream.
Yes.
I think it's what you said about Phoenix. The pro and the Achilles heel is it could go both ways. And to me, that is living and dying by the 3-point line. You are a 3-point shooting team. We know it. We've clocked it. I know the scouting report, so definitely the opponent knows the scouting report of what you guys are going to do. And when you are on, like Ryan Howard, having a multiple 9 made threes in her career and in this season, like she is on fire. When they're not, it is tough to watch and they are a lot easier to beat. So,
Yes.
how do you live in synergy with still staying true to your identity of being a 3-point team, but knowing that that could also be the thing that gets you bounced?
Yeah. I mean, we're really just on the same page today because that
Right
was
here.
another thought that I had about the dream. And it's so there. I think they're such a fascinating case because you do live and die by the three, and yet you have Bree Jones, you have Brittany Griner, like you have two incredible bigs who you can like. I feel like they've shared the court at sometimes together, or you're flip flopping them,
Yeah.
and so. But it's so interesting because they finding ways to be successful, and your coach is such a 3-point, like no matter what, no matter how good Bree Jones is, no matter how iconic BG is, you will never be the focal point of this offense. So I'm curious to see if their three isn't falling, what adjustments do they make to make it about Brittany Griner and Bree Jones and just hounding them down low? I don't know. Like, I don't know if they will. Let's see. If playoffs were to start today, they are playing up against Golden State.
Yeah.
Golden State isn't a big team. They don't have like these, they have Temi Fagbenlane, they have Monique Billings, who are, very good, but Bree Jones and Brittany Griner are massive compared to those other players.
Right.
And so you have that size advantage. So how do you exploit that? I'm very curious to see how that happens. And I will say, like last time the Dream and the Valkyries played each other, it was that offense, that game was so hard to watch. I'm gonna be real with you. Because it wasn't a pretty, because no one's shots were falling. No
Right.
one's shots were falling. And so I'm until the end when the Dreams pointers started to fall and they were able to win the game. So yeah, I'm interested to see what adjustments they make to make it more about those post players if their 3-point isn't falling. But as you said, if it does, that's why
Hard
you're
to
in this
beat.
contender
Yeah.
conversation.
Really, really tough to beat. No one can come within a mile of Ryan Howard when she is on fire and unconscious
Crazy.
like she
Yeah.
was this past game. And this idea that she can do that at any time. She just has
Yeah.
that takeover gene and that clutch gene that has proven to move Atlanta to the top and have a franchise
Yeah.
best winning total.
Yeah.
So all of that is what makes them contenders. It makes them. Alicia Gray has been in the MVP conversations for a reason as well. They have
Mhm.
that star power. But like you said, it's all about matchups when we come to the postseason. And you are going up
Yeah.
against a Golden State who knows your scout. And Natalie Nakase is going to have that defense in tune.
Defense.
And
Yeah.
if they make the game ugly and messy, sometimes that does favor the Valkyries. Like
Yeah.
they could capitalize on that type of playing style. So I'm so curious how, does Carl Smesco just have them in the gym? Like, we are still shooting threes, so make sure to make them. Or if it's,
Right.
yes, we're going to scheme, we have other things in our back pocket. I'm so curious how that's going to go, but it could go either way. And I, for one, want a Ryan Howard explosive
Ugh,
performance because
who
we all deserve
doesn't?
that. I mean,
Yeah, who doesn't?
just good TV, just good TV.
Man, I want to see Ryan Howard and Veronica Burton just exchanging bombs. Like that would be electric.
That would be so fun. Okay, fingers crossed on that. Let's take a break. Let's pay some bills. When we come back, we'll talk about the remaining two, maybe the top two contenders in this conversation. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Women's Hoop Show. We have two more contenders, maybe the biggest contenders that we got to go through next. Let's start with Vegas. They are sitting at the number 2 spot, 14-game winning streak, like you mentioned. There are
Insane.
so many pros, but you can't have a list of pros without saying they have A'ja Wilson and everyone else does not. That is
Yes.
really their biggest pro. She just set
Yes.
the record for 30-point games in a season. She's just on a whole nother level right now. And it's not hard to beat them. No one is beating them. And we
Yeah.
saw that going up against Minnesota as well. What makes the Aces a contender? And
I
what do they have
mean,
an Achilles heel? What is that?
I mean, I don't even know. Like, I mean, yeah, you start and stop with Asia as what you have, and I think going back to our they have the exact opposite thing that we were talking about with New York. They
Mhm.
have the most momentum in the world right now, and if I'm anyone, the last team I want to go up against is this version of the Las Vegas Aces. Like they seem unstoppable. I don't know what you do. Um if I have to pick an Achilles heel for them, but I don't like I think their depth is a little short.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
they've been fine. So
Yeah.
you do wonder, do you crash out like does this stop at some point because you've been so hot for so long? How much longer can you maintain this?
True.
But
True.
there's
But
no tangible evidence that that is going to happen either. I don't know. Like, what do you see that there is a glaring Achilles heel, which is kind of crazy to say because if we had this conversation 2 months ago, everything
oh
is
my,
an Achilles heel. Everything's an
we were
Achilles heel except for
listing
Asia. Yeah.
Yes, we were listing things off. So it does feel like the depth conversation was a huge one, but then you get Melissa Smith and you have Jewel
Right.
Lloyd playing better and you have this confidence from the players coming off the bench where that just wasn't there at the beginning. So that's not to me an Achilles heel to me. I think it's still the defense. And I think Asia
Mm-hmm.
Wilson would agree with that. They are scoring, which was also an issue at the beginning of the season. But now, are you technically stopping people from scoring? You're just scoring more. And they
Yeah.
have the lowest defensive rate out of anyone in the playoffs that made the playoffs. So even though they're at the top of those standings, that is an area that they are struggling with and still trying to get on the same page with. And we know that playoffs finals come down to a defensive stop here or
Yeah.
there or a turnover or how were you able to lock in defensively. And so even though that game against Minnesota last week was a great win for them. They won 97-87. You still gave up 87. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm thinking about when I think about the Aces. So they're like, yeah, Asia, get 35 and maybe we'll get some stops here or
Right.
there is a tough mentality
Yeah.
to go in with. I think that is their only thing that's kind of hindering them, but the positives are so much better and you have the
Yeah.
momentum and you have the winning streak, you have the confidence, the jokey videos, Becky Hammond's wearing a pink wig and pregame press conferences, like it feels
Yeah.
lighter, and that is something that we couldn't have said at the beginning of the season, and that is a
100%.
huge pro for them right now.
Yes. Yeah. And I could see the defense thing. That's going to be the issue as you get further into the playoffs. You know what I mean? When you start to face, I have to look at what the bracket is. But
Mm-hmm.
like, again, if the season ends today, they face the Fever,
Yeah.
who very depleted. A lot of like, obviously they still have Kelsey Mitchell playing incredibly and Aaliyah Boston, and then as you get deeper and as you start to, okay, that's when we might be facing the New Yorks or I guess not Minnesota till the end, but like, or the Golden States or the Phoenix Mercuries. That's when that defensive thing, those teams have so much offensive firepower that can kind of be tricky if you're not shutting them down when you need to and giving them that confidence. So yeah, it's there's such an interesting case to me, the Aces. Like, they're just, I think they might be honestly one of the most interesting teams in the playoffs right now. Just because of, again, where they started versus where they are now, it's insane.
It is. And that's where you get to the conversation of being contenders. It's like, they really can. Like, if they were playing like this, they really could win the championship. And how fun of a storyline would that be? Like, that would just be so great to look back at that year and just say, yeah, when they didn't lose for like a month, like 2 months.
Yeah, they really took shape in that time.
Like, that is wild.
Insane.
Post All-Star Aces are what we were hoping and expecting this team to be after this huge deal. And when we think about front office and all of the things that they did to make these moves happen, it is for this moment. It is to be contenders now. Like, this is, you are not, what I'm happy about the Aces, they are not wasting these incredible A'ja Wilson years. They are being put to the test and being put in the front and center. And I am so happy about that, because she is playing like an MVP, and they could potentially win another championship and all of those things. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how your star player is at her peak, and you guys are winning.
Yeah, and everything about this team, like, they did have so much roster turnover, more than we've seen from them in the past, like, 5 years, I would say, right? And it is, again, the way that they started their season, there were so many questions of, like, did you guys just break what wasn't broken? Like, what, or like, did you try and fix something that wasn't broken? And it's been so great to see the adjustments that they've made, but it also makes me think of, like, when we had a conversation about the Aces a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about Jewel and her coming off of the bench and how different it is from when she was asked to come off the bench in Seattle. Again, they made that move and it coincided with this win streak. And so it's like, all of these adjustments, they're not just throwing mud on the wall and seeing what sticks. It's stuck. And it's like, this is why I made that sacrifice, because now we are a top 2 team in the WNBA, and we can win. When you look at, like, Nalissa Smith coming in, it's like, that's why we did that. And to see all these decisions pay off in real time it doesn't happen often, but it's a pretty cool thing to see right now.
How much stock did you take in the Aces beating the Minnesota Lynx last week?
I think I took some stock. Like, you can't not take stock in it, right? Like, you have to take that for something about the current state of each team. And I know we're going to talk about Minnesota in a second. I don't know if that means that, I don't think that means that Minnesota is not at its peak. And again, I keep going back to, it's going to be, because they would only be able to meet in the finals, right? Like, that with the way the bracket's set up.
Because the way the bracket, the Liberty and the Lynx are on the same side of the bracket.
Yes. And so it's a 7-game series. I mean, how electric would that be? But, and so you can only take so much in one game, and you look at the whole season series. Okay, the Lynx beat them by 53 points once, and then the Aces came back and beat them a couple more times. But you do, like, it makes me excited for the possibility of a Lynx and Lynx and Aces finals. But
for sure,
they had a really good handle on that game. They looked extremely comfortable. We talk about their defense and how that could be a concern. Fee didn't have her, like, loudest game that game, which you take stock in as well. So I think, if those two teams are matched up, the Aces are looking at that film from that game and say, you guys, like, we have a recipe, like, we've done it before and it worked extremely well. It wasn't a fluke of a game, or it wasn't a last minute shot game winner.
Right.
They had control of it.
I agree. I think it was very people definitely wanted to paint the MVP race just to that game of Asia scoring 31. I think Fee finished with 12. One thing I'll say about that game before we transition to Minnesota is that it was still very much in reach. The only note that I took about that game was Cheryl Reeve pulled her starters with 4 minutes to go, and the Aces were only up by 11, I believe. And I was so confused by that because Tisha Heidemann went on for a stretch where it was like within 3. It was very close and winnable. So I don't know if that was Cheryl Reeve being Cheryl Reeve and like making a point to her team. But I just feel like she kind of waved the white flag a little too early. And I was like, there was still time. You could have made a comeback. But that was just me being selfish and wanting it to just go down to the wire.
Not selfish. Not at all.
Not at all. That's just what I wanted. But the Minnesota Lynx are for sure the number one contender. They have been comfortably. They're like in a recliner lazy boy chair in that number one spot. I couldn't really think of an Achilles heel. Like, they are number one in offense, number one in defense. They have the motivation to come in and win a title this year. They have, I would say momentum was definitely on their side, probably in the beginning of the season more, but it's still very much there. So you have the MVP favorite. You have the others. You have almost the 6th player of the year, possibly in Natisha Heidemann. Like, you have so many pieces where it's a little bit like it's yours to lose. Like, the red carpet is there. You kind of got to go do it now.
That's a lot of pressure, though. Like, that could be an Achilles heel, though. And I spoke with Cheryl Reeve like a couple nights ago, and I asked her, I said, you guys have been in the number one. I think at this point they had 3 or 4 more, and they have 3 games left now. So they had 4 more games. This is before they played Golden State on Saturday, I think. You've been the number one seed all season long, all this stuff. What do you want to see in these final games? How do you fine tune? And she said, well, we don't have to fine tune. We're already fine tuned. It's about how do we take what we've done and can we get it to another level? That's hard. Like, that is so hard to do. And I think that can almost be looked at as an Achilles heel. Like, it's not an Achilles heel, but it's like, is there another level? Because you're going to be getting every team's best shot. You're going to be like, everyone's nitpicking at you. Everyone's doing everything to take Fee out, to take Courtney Williams out, to take Kayla McBride out, to take T out. Like, but to your point, like, they do have, I think almost in this situation, it's good that they're not the defending champions because they do have that chip on their shoulder. Now with Asia, like, skyrocketing in MVP conversations, again, Fee probably has that chip on the shoulder. Like, no, I have to go win this. It can be taken from me. So I think those are positives for them. But damn, like, if the only person who can beat you is yourself, like, that's heavy. Like, I don't want that pressure. I do not want that pressure.
I did not think about that. That is a lot of pressure. And like you said, you're getting everyone's best and you have to perform your best. And we did a mailbag episode last week, and I think I got, 10 people saying, who's going to upset the Lynx? Like, people are waiting to see if they can't follow through on it. Will Will they choke? Will they not be able to get it done? And I think that is a huge storyline going into this, rather than just focusing on them being so great, you know?
And I don't think that they can't do it. I think they're still the favorites. They very well could do it. I just think that it's again, and I know I always comp the Warriors, but it's the team that I spent so much time around. I wasn't covering them at this time. They won 73 games in the regular season, and they lost the finals.
Yeah.
Like, those types of things happen. The Boston Celtics last season were the best team. And yes, they had injuries. But actually, I guess the Oklahoma City Thunder were. But anyway, my point is, like, there are
regular
times
season is one thing,
right? Exactly, especially when you dominate. And I actually think that with the OKC Thunder, that was a question of, like, they were so good in the regular season, no one could beat them. Can they maintain that in the playoffs? And I think that is the challenge for the Lynx. So I don't view it as an Achilles heel. I just view it as, can you do it? And I think that that's going to be like they have all the pieces. So let's see what happens.
I mean, the Lynx have a chance to, win out. They could get up to 36 wins on this season, insane, which would just be wild and set the best in franchise history, set all these type of records. And to your point, that means nothing if Courtney Williams is not partying with champagne at the end of this season. I think that is what they want more than anything. So we'll see. We'll see if they can get it. I'm excited. Is it next Sunday yet? I can't wait. I can't wait.
Right? The countdown is on.
The countdown is on. Okay, before we head out, because this was so fun, we covered so many things, but let's send some flowers. It's time for sending flowers, sponsored by Cash App. Making money moves should be easy, and that's why there's Cash App. It's fast, safe, and honestly, just way more personalized than other apps out there. So Kendra, who would you like to send some flowers to today?
Well, we already talked about them at the top of the show. I'm sending my flowers to the arena 25 minutes from where I live at Chase Center. I'm sending my flowers to Natalie Nakase and the Golden State Valkyries. I just think that it's the best story in WNBA basketball this season, what they have done. And not only did they fight through, I won't even say fight through, like, outperformed being an expansion team, they also faced adversity in this season. They lost Kayla Thornton. They lost their leading player, right coming out of the All-Star break. And the way that that could have been a moment where they lost, that the season was lost, that they lost the momentum. It still would have been an incredible year. But the fact that this is where they are is just absolutely incredible. I'm like, all of these women, they've said it so many times, were sixth women on different teams, were stars overseas, but hadn't gotten their chance in the W. So to see what they have built, I think, is just like, all my flowers go to them. It was so fun seeing them celebrate, and just the excitement on their faces and their voices. Like, all of Ball Hollow, people were dancing in the stands, players. Like, it kind of felt like an NCAA tournament win. Like, they had their shirts, they were taking pictures at center court. It's just, I send my flowers to them because they have really done something. And just the thought that I had when we were talking, like, about the Sparks and all this stuff, I think when we were looking at preseason predictions of where teams would fall, no one had, like, a reason why the Sparks aren't in the playoffs right now, or the Storm, or they're all hovering, is because the Valkyries kicked them out. And I think that is, like, they took someone's spot. And I think that is, like, so cool. Not
that
cool,
is
but
such
impressive.
a good one.
It's
violet colored roses are going
Yes.
down the road. I think that is so good. So, I just love this story. We're going to be talking about it for years to come.
Ever.
And
Yes.
what didn't Cheryl Reeve just say something
Yeah.
about, next expansion teams? The bar is set high.
Yeah.
Very high.
Before you give your flowers, my laptop's gonna die. I'm gonna go grab my charger really fast. Give me like 2 seconds.
Good call. Good call.
Sorry, I had like 2% left, and I was like, "Wait, it can't die when we're almost done with the episode." And then, okay, we're plugged in, we're good to go.
Good. We're good. At the buzzer. I love it. Okay. So my bouquet that I'm giving flowers to, we also talked about at the top of this, and I am giving flowers to Angel Reese because
yes, oh my God, yeah,
I can't imagine what it's like to be her in these past 4 years. It has been so much, and I always think about that. And she is someone who wants to play basketball, and that is the number one thing that she wants to do. But I also, besides this whole situation, you were just on the cover of NBA 2K, and that just came out, and I don't even feel like we talked about that because it has kind of been overshadowed by this whole situation in Chicago. You, Angel, continue to do incredible things. You have your line, your shoe coming out. No one can take any of that away from you. And I just hope that people are really sending you flowers and giving you your encouragement, because it is not easy being Angel Reese. I can't even imagine. And so I know that there is probably so many things going through her mind of what her future looks like in the WNBA. And I hate that year 2 you're already thinking about that. I want a soft life for you, Angel, like more than anything else in the world. And you deserve all the flowers, just trying to hold your head up high throughout this entire situation, and like you've had to do over and over and over again just in these handful of years. So my flowers are to you, Angel.
I think she deserves some flowers. I think, like, you made such a good point. It's not even just what's happened in the last week. It's 2 to 3 years, I think, even going back to her senior year at LSU and stuff. So she deserves so many flowers. She's like, we were talking about this with some of my coworkers. We were doing a list of top 25 under 25 players, and we were talking about Angel and how she isn't just one of the, she's a top 25 under 25 she is literally the best of the whole league in a statistical category. And she's 23, I think. Like, maybe my numbers are off, but she is the most elite in something in women's basketball. And she has built like such an amazing empire for herself. And so it is unfortunate when extracurriculars kind of get murky the water of just how incredible she is. And I think back to when I was covering her and working with her at Unrivaled, when she was on the same team as Chelsea Gray, and she was, on the same team as all these players. They won the championship out there at Unrivaled, and there was a lightness to her and an eagerness to learn. She was working really closely with Lisa Leslie. And there was just a certain energy that she had out there that was like, this is this is who you are. Like, this is your energy. And I hope that she can get that energy more in the WNBA, because I think that's like the best version of Angel Reese that there is in the basketball world. So she deserves lots of flowers, I think.
That's such a great point. Yeah, we need her light to come back. And I think we can we can unlock a whole different basketball player when we get that in a WNBA setting. So send the flowers, all the flowers, a lot of roses going to Angel Reese. But that was Sending Flowers, sponsored by Cash App. As you heard me say at the top of the show, new Cash App users can use our code to get free money. Use our code Hoopers to send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 right in your account. Thank you, Cash App, and thank you, Kendra, for hanging out. Another Yap session. I always have fun with that.
Yes, me too. Now I'm even more ready for the playoffs.
Yes, me too. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an update. Your support means the world. And if you're feeling generous, leaving a quick rating or review helps more Hoops fans discover the show. And you can now see us on our brand new YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe there. Shoot us an email at women'shoops@odyssey.com to tell us what's on your mind. We want to hear your hottest takes, your burning questions, and all your feelings about all things women's hoops. We just might feature your note on the show. That's women'shoops@odyssey.com. The Women's Hoop Show is an Odyssey original podcast hosted by me, Jordan Robinson. Our producer is Phil Switek. Our video team is led by Kurt Courtney and includes Tim Meikle, Evan Cox, Allison Jeffrey, and Lauren Vieira. Our executive producers are Greg Holtzman, Asha Saluja, Danny Freisinger, Maddie Sprunkheiser, and Leah Reese Dennis. And special thanks to Moira Curran and Josephina Francis.